Hey, what's going on, everybody? Welcome back to Auto Transport Intel. It is Wednesday. It is approximately noon Central Time, and that means it's time for some DOT compliance. So this is the show where we talk about the FMCSA, the DOT, IRP, IFTA, ELD, pick your anagram. Listen, if you're setting up your authority, you have DOT number questions, you want to get help navigating the FMCSA website or SaferSys or Clearinghouse. There is so much to talk about. We have our resident expert, Brian Riker, your DOT guy, to help answer questions. So go ahead and join the live chat. You can put in your question. You already got Two Bears Transportation in there. The question, what's going on, Two Bears? Devin Richards with the answer. That's great, man. Thanks for chiming in. Also, be sure, if you're watching this on demand, you can put stuff in the YouTube comments below. I'll tap Brian on the shoulder, say, listen, man, we've got something. We need you to answer. We need your help. Also, I need your help. Do me a favor. After you leave that like, thank you so much, go ahead and click that share button, click copy, grab that YouTube link, text it, email it, share it on social media. Do a favor for a friend. Say, listen, these guys are going to be live for the next 30 minutes. They're taking questions, and they really want to help you. We really want to help. We want to help you stay compliant so you're not dodging the scales and going that route. We don't want that. We want to help you. We got some great information. Why not dodge the scales? You don't want to do that. And if you just don't know what you're doing, go to autotransportintel.com, click on sign up. Join the ATI Insider Program. Talk to Ty. He's in carrier relations as a coach. We've got the monthly roundtable where we get everybody together and tell war stories, give information and advice on how to grow your business, and also get on the weekly email blast so you don't miss any Tuesday nights. Again, please do jump in the live chat. Hey, Riding with Ryan. What's going on, Riding with Ryan? So thank you guys so much for tuning in. And without any further ado, perfect. It is 2 minutes after. Hey, Brian, you're not on the screen. Oh, shoot. And you're not on the... There you go. Can you hear me?
I can hear you, Jay. Good afternoon.
Hey, what's going on? So, all right, so you're not on the screen. What are you doing?
I'm stuck in a nasty, nasty storm outside of Charlotte, North Carolina, and I just don't have good enough signal to give you a video. But I'll give you audio, and I'm going to head up to the Great White North, our neighbor to the north, maybe.
Oh.
See, yes.
Okay. So, wow, it sounds like a long, fun drive. Which
yes.
That pretty much sums up trucking in general. Long, fun drive.
It's a long, strange trip.
That's right.
We're trucking.
Right on.
Don't ask me to sing.
Exactly. Me neither. That makes two of us. That's why we're not. This is not American Idol.
Maybe it's American Idol, IDLE.
Oh, man. American Idol. I'm typing that. Okay, now see that's in the running for the show name now, American Idol. That is fantastic. And we know that I was talking about the purpose. We know that there are plenty of questions and concerns and workarounds. So let's jump right in. Two Bears says, okay, question for you, Brian. If you have a 3500 with apportioned plates using an ELD, can you also drive that vehicle when home without the ELD turned on to support all the miles on IFTA? Is it okay to use it for personal use?
It is okay to use it for personal use. And you are absolutely correct that you have to report all of your miles, including personal miles, for the purpose of your fuel tax computation and your apportioned registration computation. All of those miles get reported. As far as removing the ELD, that's a sticky area. You could just log it on duty or log it to personal conveyance and make a note that you're using it as your personal vehicle to go grocery shopping or whatever. That's probably your best bet, so you do not have to explain log disconnects and reconnects at the side of the road, because they may not want to believe you that you were just on your home time. And if you're using your ELD and its mileage tracking software to compile your IRP reports and your IFTA reports, you're going to want that device still plugged in and turned on so that it records the miles you drive in the states that you drive in.
Okay, so there you go. There's your very detailed answer. As always, we appreciate that, Brian. And what I'm going to do, too, is I'm going to put in the live chat. I'm going to put in Hire Brian with a link to Fleet Compliance Solutions. Oh, wait, it didn't. Oh, the link didn't. Hang on one sec. The link. Let's grab that link. That's not a URL. That's a company name. Here's the URL for the company name. Cool. So, yeah. So, Brian, you have a business, Fleet Compliance Solutions, LLC. Go to fleetcompliancesolutions.net, or you can go to YourDOTGuy.com. And this stuff gets really complicated. That's a really good question. That's one of many questions that could be asked. And so,
oh, absolutely.
Oh my
and
gosh.
The little nuances there can get you in trouble, because if you're using Two Bears' question, if you are using your ELD for your fuel mileage report tracking everywhere else, it's going to look funny. It's going to look suspect that you have all of a sudden some miles that are being recorded manually that are not on the report when they come in to do that IFTA audit. And it's not a matter of if, it's a matter of when. Eventually, they will come in and audit you, and IFTA is a tax, so they audit you in a very similar manner to the IRS, meaning they come in looking for blood. So it's always best to not give them anything to attack. And so you're perfectly legal. There are no current limits on time, distance, or anything on personal conveyance. You're perfectly legal just to go on personal conveyance when you're using that truck for your personal use. Yeah, it's a pain in the butt. You got to log into your ELD and push that button, and then you got to pay attention to make sure it doesn't accidentally bump you to the drive or the on-duty line and screw up your 34-hour reset or whatever. But there is no rule that says you cannot do that. Now, if you're tracking your mileage with the old-fashioned pen and paper on a notepad, well, then the only issue you'll have is explaining that you unplugged it to roadside enforcement when you're 2 states away and he doesn't want to believe you that you are actually home.
Right. So, and that's the thing is that unplugging, I always cringe when I hear unplug, right? Because, I mean, unplugging sounds good, but there's a reason everything is digital, is so that it's easier to track. And when you say to somebody that you unplugged something, it just on its face sounds suspect. So going into personal conveyance, that's the right way to do it, right?
That is the best way to do it, yes.
Okay. That way you are, as we like to say on DOT compliance, what do we like to say? You're being compliant, right?
Yes.
Okay.
You're absolutely being compliant, and you have a paper trail that is easily explainable.
Yeah, there we go. And that's audit talk. Easily explainable. That actually,
yes.
Okay, now that's in the running for the show name. Easily, I'm typing it. Easily explainable. Very, very good. And next up,
we'll do a late night talk show one night when we can do live calls. That'll be easily explainable.
Easily explainable on DOT compliance. All right, so let's go into. Let me go ahead and share this screen. And by the way, yeah, Brian, we want to see. Hey, there's Brian. We got the picture of you at the U.S. Senate. Oh wait, we don't have it yet. Here we go. There's Brian at the U.S. Senate. There he is. Hey, I didn't know you were at the. No, I'm not gonna mention.
2020, the day the world stopped turning with COVID. We were the last. I was there with the Towing and Recovery Association of America, and we were the last public group in the Capitol that night at 6 p.m. when they let us out. We were lobbying for, or against, I should say, lobbying against mandatory speed limiters, insurance increases, and lobbying for improvements for roadside worker safety, which helps us in the car haul industry because a lot of us, we don't get to pull into a dealership parking lot. We're on the shoulder of the road or in the center turn lane, loading and unloading. So campaigns that make people aware of pedestrian workers are good for our industry as well.
I'm so glad you said that, because I cannot believe that it is dealer policy at many locations to tell the car hauler, here he is, he's in Houston, he's in a frontage road, go ahead and unload in the street, which people are going so fast that if they hit your truck, they're going to pipe ramp over the highway.
Unfortunately, it happens more than you would think, and I have a good friend who lost his business because he was doing nothing wrong other than unloading in a center turn lane on a roadway that had 2 lanes of travel in one direction, 2 in another, in one of those divided center turn lanes. He was away from his truck, 4 ways on, ramps down, and somebody ran up his ramps and into the upper deck on his trailer and was killed in the accident. Yeah. And the police and then the subsequent civil suit found him fully responsible for the irresponsible actions of that motorist, simply because his truck was stopped somewhere it was not legally authorized to be stopped, and he wasn't broke down. He was loading and unloading in an area that he should not have been in by law. But given the dealer, and this is a dealer I had serviced myself personally, you really didn't have very many choices. For fear of going down a rant here, I put this on the dealers because I understand for them every square foot of parking lot has a dollar value, and if they can put a car on it instead of leaving room for a truck, they have a potential to earn more. I get it. They're in business to make money just like we are. But I put this squarely on them and on the zoning and planning commissions around the country that approve these dealerships without forcing them to have a truck loading and unloading zone that is safe for everybody involved. It really should be mandatory that they have a safe area that you can access legally, not one that you have to nose in and then back out into traffic, which is illegal, but one that you can either pull up and back into, that is the legal way to enter a parking lot if you're going to have to back up, or pull in and around and back out. It should be mandatory that the traffic plan for that dealership requires that, or they don't get their zoning approval.
And I don't want to be Debbie Downer here, although that's one of my roles, but you've got all of the handicapped parking, so clearly if there's an issue, you can get laws changed to make sure that you've got, allocation for folks that need space allocated. I always say this about the grocery stores. You don't tell the guy delivering milk that he's got to go park a half a mile away and figure out a way to wheel it over the sidewalk and get it into the grocery store. That doesn't happen. They create a loading zone for that truck. We have stipulations that create minimum width for lanes of travel inside the parking lot so fire apparatus can get in case of an emergency. We have no parking zones for fire and public safety purposes that way. But again, the truck driver is an afterthought, and they don't care. My brother deals with this daily. He services restaurants in New York City, and he'll get 3 or 4 parking tickets a day just doing his job because there is no loading or unloading zone, and he unfortunately has to deliver during daylight hours when they're out doing parking enforcement. And it used to be understood that they turn the other way to trucks because they knew the trucks had nowhere else to go, but New York City Mayor de Blasio, he's got a vendetta against trucks, so now you get several $100s a day in parking citations just to have the privilege of serving the residents of New York City. Oh, wow.
And this plays out all across the country. I used to pick up stolen recovered vehicles from Newark, New Jersey Police Department, and you had to go to their auto theft unit, and there was nowhere to park a car hauler legally to go inside and get your paperwork. You were taking a chance you were going to come out and find a parking citation. Well, you're just there to get the release, because heaven forbid we go to the tow yard where there is a safe place to park and give them our ID and get the release of the vehicle. No. You got to go downtown Newark and get the release, and then go over to Paulie at B and C or one of them to pick the vehicle up. And so this has been an issue for as long as there's been car haulers. And let's segue into the truck parking bill that you wanted to talk about, because this is a sister issue. It's not addressed in that $775 million proposal, but it is a step in the right direction, at least for when we need a place to take our mandatory 10-hour break.
Amen. Truck parking, you constantly hear about it, and you see it too. And then again, that's where the plaintiff's lawyers, right? My poor client drove straight up your truck, right? My poor client ran into your truck. Yeah, well, the guy had nowhere to park.
And it is an issue. You see it all the time with trucks parked before and after rest areas, entrance ramps to highways, stuff like that. And I feel for them, because a lot of them don't know the area well enough, or they don't know where they can park, or their company doesn't allow them to go off route to go somewhere better. And so I feel for the driver, but man, that is very dangerous when you're stopped and parked along the shoulder of the road. And if something does happen, Jay, you're absolutely right.
I hate it when
the plaintiff lawyer's on you.
Oh yeah, no, I really, and I have the same feeling. I think, oh my God, and can we find that guy somewhere to park, right?
Yeah.
Please.
And the worst part is there's money available to expand the truck parking today, but the states choose to use it for other things. And they've chosen to use it for those variable message signs that only tell us that, yeah, you're screwed, there's no parking up ahead. That was nice, but that money you spent on that data system could have put 10 extra parking spots in at that rest area, or kept another rest area open instead of shutting it down.
The diversion of funds, that stuff.
Yes.
And that's why I don't even know why. We don't even need to talk about, like, regular politics to get our blood boiling. All we got to do is talk about all the stuff that goes wrong in trucking.
Well, that's the beauty of this proposal here, is the money will be a competitive grant system. So the states will have to apply and show that they have a need and a qualifying use for it. And it can only be used, the majority of it, 75% or more, must be used for actual pavement on the ground, not studying, not engineering, not planning, not management systems. And it has to remain free parking for the trucker. It cannot be a public-private partnership where they'll build the lot and then parkmytruck.com comes in and manages it and charges you $15 a night to park there. So this has some great points to it. It's bipartisan. It's sponsored primarily by a Republican from Illinois, Mike Bost, and I forget the Democratic co-sponsor, but it's got 6 or 8 co-sponsors, equal both sides of the aisle, so it has a good chance of going somewhere, and it definitely will help the long haul guys with places to park. It'll even help us that do more short haul work. Us by me, I mean. What I used to do was short haul work, but there was no place to stop just to take your 30-minute nap or your milk and cookies break, if you will. So it definitely is a positive piece of legislation that's coming through.
Fantastic. Oh, and I don't want to forget, Devin at Victory Lap, he's got a question in here. Okay. Hey, Brian, I just bought a trailer. I think he says a 2-car Kaufman. The VIN plate is faded. How do I go about getting a new one? I'm not degrading the trailer, just want to get another original tag.
The same way if you were to derate it, just contact Kaufman, either a dealer or the factory direct. They're going to want proof of ownership of the trailer, so take a picture of the faded VIN plate and copy of your title, and they will mail you a new one. It's only a couple of dollars for them to send you a replacement plate.
Okay, good info. Contact Brian. Again, I put the link, Brian's link, in the live chat. Riding with Ryan says, yeah, those signs suck too. Sometimes they're a couple miles away, so by the time you're there, it's changed.
Yes.
That's why when I can't imagine, right, driving a truck. Just even when I get out of my car, I learned this in Hollywood. I literally look at every stinking sign I can find to make sure I'm not violating, something, right?
Yeah.
And so I can imagine with a truck, right? You got to walk up and down. It takes 5 minutes. You got to put that on your ELD, checking the signs.
You're not wrong.
Right, exactly. Silvermint says, ding, ding. What's up, Silvermint? Okay, let's do some more news. We've only got 10 minutes left. This show flies. $4 trillion infrastructure plan with massive tax hikes.
Yeah, that, I don't even want to get into the, I don't even want to get into the income tax implications of this or anything, but
Right.
This infrastructure plan will have taxes masquerading as tolls involved in it. This is the plan that they were talking about, the vehicle miles traveled tax, which is a great concept, but there's no efficient way to execute it right now, especially when we take privacy concerns into consideration. There is no doubt that we need to improve our infrastructure in this nation, and not just roads and bridges. We need to improve our internet, our telecommunications, our radio communications, our airports, and our train systems. There's a lot that needs improvement, but there comes a time where we have to figure out a responsible way to fund this, and it cannot all be funded on the back of the working class people and the small business people. So I can't be excited about this until we find a better way to fund it.
That's why I got a message, I think it was last night. Remember when the Founding Fathers revolted for a small tax on tea, and now we've got to the point where they're trying to tax you on traveling to work, a job to provide for your family?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah, and the government functioned just fine for many years without taxes. We had public schools, we had public health care and law enforcement and everything else. That said, I don't know what the right answer is. So some of these guys are actually, they believe they're trying their best. So I'm not going to beat them up too terribly hard. And consumption only. Forget about the income, investment, death taxes, all that. Pay me on what I spend my money on. Although I am somewhat of a proponent of vehicle miles traveled, because these alternative fuel vehicles definitely need to pay their fair share. You plug your Tesla in at home and you're paying taxes for your electric infrastructure, which is great, but you're not paying any taxes towards the highway that you then run it on, except a couple of dollar tax you pay for the tires that you put on the car every year. It's a little screwed up. There needs to be, as vehicles get more fuel efficient or run on fuels other than stuff pumped at a dispensary at a traditional fuel station, there needs to be a way to capture some of those vehicles' miles and turn it into revenue, without making every highway in the country a toll road where we just pay for every mile that we drive.
Whew, yeah. And I'm glad you said that, that other talk show, because what we really do try to focus on business. So let's go. Here's another business topic. We got 5 more minutes because, we're going to try to stay out of the weeds. I think that's actually one of the reasons why we will keep this a short show for a while, so that we don't end up in the weeds of fishing and fireworks and gun
Yes.
rights. I know that stuff is great and all, but this is DOT compliance. So here's another DOT compliance topic. Breaking ELD news from Transport Canada, an important update on the Canadian ELD mandate, which, by the way, go ahead and get your ELD punch ready. What's the good news on this?
Cheers. The good
hey,
news.
Cheers. Yeah.
The good news is this topic is actually relevant. It is actually a DOT topic, a compliance topic. Here's the long and the short of it. Canada, like the United States, has made ELDs mandatory. Canada, unlike the United States, wants their devices certified by an independent third party. Think of when you pick up a electronic appliance. It has a SAC or a UL, an Underwriter Laboratories certification on it, something like that. Well, in the United States, our devices are self-certified by the manufacturer to meet all the requirements. I personally don't have a problem with that. The truck that you drive every day is self-certified by the manufacturer that it meets the requirements of the National Federal Highway Administration. So I don't have a problem with self-certification. Canadians do. The problem is for them, there isn't a single device that has been certified by an independent laboratory to meet Canada's requirements. They go into effect in June 1st, I believe it is. Ontario Providence already said they're not going to enforce this federal mandate. However, the Fed said that they still are rolling it out just with a soft enforcement. So there is no way to comply. It'll become something where they can hold it over your head and say, well, you were supposed to be compliant. We don't care. There's no devices. Here's a citation if they want to use it as an excuse to harass you. That's my problem with it. You with me so far?
I'm with you. No, I think that's hilarious. So we don't have any certified ELDs, eh? Okay, that's all right, fine. But
hey,
the thing
yes.
is, this is where if you create laws that exceed what's reasonable, where are you?
Right, and they made the standard just different enough from what we use in the United States. Instead of harmonizing like they have with their vehicle safety standards, where other than the level of anti-theft prevention measures are higher in Canada than they are in the United States, all the other vehicle safety standards are compatible and interoperable. Instead of just mirroring the specifications for the United States device and then saying they need to be independently certified, they made the specs slightly different. So none of the existing devices on the market want to make the modification to meet the Canadian market, because the Canadian trucking market is insignificant compared to the United States market. So they don't want to spend the money and resources to do this, nor do they want to spend the $50,000 per device that the independent lab that the Canadians have chosen to be the one that certifies spends to certify that particular make and model, because then every time you make a software upgrade or a change, it has to go back in for recertification at a similarly inflated certification cost. So this is kind of the manufacturers at ELDs pushing back and saying, no, we don't want to do it this way. And it's leaving the truckers in a bad spot, because we're the ones in the compliance crosshairs, because we're the ones operating without a device, and especially our cross-border truckers, because it is reasonable to think, well, it's unreasonable to think, but it most likely will happen, that they may have to have two separate devices, one that meets the United States standard and one that meets the Canadian standard, for depending upon which side of the border they're operating on. And they may have to still run them simultaneously so that they have their hours in a continuous record for both the U.S. and Canadian enforcement.
Oh, I just finished my ELD punch. Thanks, Brian.
Yeah, you got to finish the whole glass.
I had to drink the whole thing, because this is so funny. And here's your Band-Aid. Well, I'll tell you what we're going to do. We're going to give you 3 more months.
Yep.
That is... Oh, man, I love laws so much.
The independent certification process will take more than 3 months to get a device certified.
Exactly. Oh, God, that's funny. Man, I just love Comedy Hour here on DOT Compliance. Brian, thank you.
It goes by so quick.
It goes by so fast. Here's it, Brian. Stay safe out there. We know you got a long drive, and we really appreciate your time, as always. Folks, this is DOT Compliance. We're going to wrap up here. We got 30 seconds left-ish. if you made it to the live chat, thank you so much. Silver Mint says, remember shovel ready?
Yes. Yeah, so this definitely was not a shovel-ready project.
Shovel ready. And actually, I think that, you know what? We talked so much about truck parking. I think that the title of the show will have something to do with truck parking. It's good for the SEO, and it's good for, because it's a weekly show. And people, I know if somebody arrives at the homepage on YouTube, they'll be like, man, what am I going to watch? And if I call it American Idol, they won't know what that means. So,
no.
So truck parking it is. This was a truck parking episode, DOT compliance. Brian, this was our 19th show.
Wow.
Right? It's going fast.
Yeah, and before you know it, we'll be hitting the 100 mark.
Right? So we'll be here every Wednesday to answer DOT compliance questions. If you made it in the live chat, great. If you missed the live show, put it in the comments below. Remember to like, share, subscribe, and tell your friends. And, of course, thank Brian. Brian, thank you so much, buddy. Stay safe.
You're welcome, Jay.
Yeah, man. And we'll see you next week.
Yes, sir.
All right.
Take care.
Party on.